Welcome to the deep dive. We're digging into some very specific meteorological insights you shared with us today. We're focusing sharply on Baku, Azerbaijan, specifically July 4th through 7th, 2025. Maybe you're planning something significant then, or just have a keen interest. Our job is to pull out the absolute must-know info from these long-range expert forecasts.
Yeah, and to really get a handle on this, we need that baseline. What is July normally like in Baku? Well, it's hot, it's arid, very, very dry typically. Think averages around 86 Fahrenheit, that's 30 Celsius, and historically, maybe one day of rain in the entire month. So you can see why any kind of predicted shift, even a small one, really stands out in these forecasts.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that. The number one thing, the most consistent warning coming through loud and clear for this exact period. Strong wind gusts. The assessments we looked at show winds possibly getting over 40 miles per hour, 64 kilometers per hour, especially mentioned for July 4th and 6th, but generally staying pretty high throughout those days.
And what's quite, fascinating here is seeing that kind of pattern show up so consistently this far out. Because winds like that, they're not just a bit breezy. That can mean actual stress on buildings, major disruption for anything happening outdoors.
Oh yeah, like temporary structures, tent stages, things like that.
Exactly. Those are particularly vulnerable. And it affects transport too, of course. So yeah, it's flagged as the most reliable, significant risk in these sources.
Okay, when noted. But then, sticking with things that stand out against that dry July backdrop, localized thunderstorms showing up in the forecast. I mean, the sources mention passing showers for July 6th and even T-storms early on the 7th. Now, the probability is low, right? Only about 16 or 17% chance of rain. Still, the fact that rain is even mentioned for Baku in July, that caught my eye.
It really does. Yeah. And connecting that to the bigger climate picture, it highlights something crucial about long-range stuff. Even these low probability, very localized events, they matter because they're deviations from the norm. They might not cover a huge area, but these pop-up storms, if they happen, can bring sudden, really strong wind gusts or brief, heavy downpours right where they form.
So still a potential hazard, even if it's not widespread rain.
Precisely. You've got the heat, you've got humidity providing that atmospheric energy, that instability, even without widespread moisture.
Right, that makes sense. It underscores how even small blips on the radar, so to speak, can be important. Okay, so if there's potential for thunderstorms, even localized ones, does that bring hail into the picture at all?
That's a really important question to ask. The short answer is specific hail forecasts for Baku just aren't available this far ahead. It's too specific. But, and this is key, not forecasted doesn't mean zero risk. Not at all. If one of those localized storms does manage to strengthen unexpectedly, given the heat energy available, yes, hail could theoretically be a possibility. It's about understanding potential, not just what's explicitly predicted right now.
Got it. A nuance there. So backing up a bit, the general temperature forecast seems, well, normal, hot, basically aligning with typical July averages. So that heat is the backdrop, the constant, while these wind and potential storm elements are the more, let's say, dynamic factors.
That's a good way to put it. Consistent heat, but with these added volatile possibilities.
So pulling this all together, what does this mean for you, the listener? If you're planning around these dates, what's the practical takeaway?
Okay, the single most important thing for you is to keep monitoring. As we get closer to July 2025, you absolutely need to check the official local weather updates. The Azerbaijan National Hydrometeorological Service is the place to go. Their website, it's eco.gov.az. Forecasts just get so much more accurate in the final weeks and days. Long range gives trends, short range gives specifics.
Definitely key advice, and just some general pointers based on this forecast. With the wind, obviously, secure anything loose outdoors. And be really careful if you happen to be driving a high-profile vehicle. Winds like that can make it tricky.
Good point.
And for the heat, well, the basics. Stay hydrated, find shade when you can, and don't forget that UV index. It'll be extremely high, likely around 10. Serious sun protection needed.
Absolutely. And for anyone involved in, say, event planning, those structural checks become vital with the wind forecast. Agriculture might need to think about wind damage too.
Right. So, wrapping up this deep dive, the core message seems pretty clear. Strong winds look like the most consistent issue for Baku in early July 2025. But importantly, even that low chance of localized storms shouldn't be dismissed, particularly given the usually bone-dry conditions and whatever your specific interests might be for those dates.
Exactly, and it really underlines the nature of long-range weather prediction, doesn't it? We can see general trends like the heat and persistent wind fairly well, but the exact timing, the intensity of localized things like maybe a pop-up thunderstorm, that always has more uncertainty. Which loops back to why continuous monitoring closer to the date is just so essential.
It certainly does. And that leaves us, and you, with maybe a final thought to chew on. How does really understanding a place's baseline climate, like Baku's typical dry July, actually help us better interpret and prepare for these seemingly low probability forecast events? And what does that mean for how you approach planning anything long range when faced with predictions that deviate from the norm?